Thomas in San Ramon. Hey, Thomas, thanks for calling. What's up?
Hey, boys. I think Baltimore's the class of the AFC, but I was calling because I think the Seahawks are probably going to win the West. I think they're more legit than you're giving them credit for, and I think the Niners are going to make a wild card, but I think the real thing people should be afraid of is maybe playing the Lions in Detroit with Montgomery and Gibbs and Hutchinson giving Purdy the yips. I think that would be a nightmare matchup for the Niners.
And the Lions have a really good offensive line. I mean, that's people don't talk about it, but Penei Sewell, Frank Ragnow,
well, that's why they run
Decker,
the ball. Yeah.
They got a good line.
And Goff stays upright. I think the world of the Lions. I'm more interested in the first thing that you said. Why are you high on the Seahawks, Thomas?
I think they got whooped by the Ravens, but I think the Ravens are way better than everybody's giving them credit for. And I think, I watched the Lions-Seahawks game, and that was close, but it was really tough. And I think the Seahawks have just gone out and beaten a lot of good teams and then got thrashed by the Ravens. So I think they're both more legitimate than you give them credit for.
Well, I don't think, in fact, I think the point I was just making is I don't think that just because Seattle lost in Baltimore, that means you can brush them off. I still think, and thanks, Thomas, I think Seattle is a solid enough team. I don't think they're in the 49ers class, but that doesn't matter. They may not have to be. They've got 2 shots at the 49ers coming up. Their schedule gets crazy hard at the end, but be prepared for Seattle to be a thorn in the side for at least a few more weeks. They're now at 5-3. They host Washington next week. That's probably a victory. And then they go to the Rams the week after that, which with the Rams being injured, that could be a victory as well. So Seattle, I mean, they could easily be 7-3 when we get to Thanksgiving and they host the 49ers. I'd be shocked if they're not at least 6-4. And so that game's going to be of huge import. But I do think Seattle is classically one of those teams that's like, they can put a scare in you. They're going to give you a game. I don't think they're going to win at the highest level. You see Cincinnati and Baltimore both got them in the last month. And once they get to Thanksgiving, their schedule goes Niners, Cowboys, Niners, Eagles. I
think Seattle's fool's gold. I don't believe in Geno. They went 1 for 13 on 3rd and 4th down against Baltimore. Geno's not having a particularly great year.
I'm with you. He looks like Geno again.
Yeah, his line has kind of let him down a little bit in front of him. They're not running the ball quite as well as you would think they could, because I really like Kenneth Walker. They're the kid Weatherspoon that they drafted from Illinois is just sick. The rookie corner, he's tremendous. They're better on the back end, but their front, I mean, they've added Frank Clark and Leonard Williams. We'll see how much that helps, but I think the Niners are going to sweep Seattle. I think they're going to. I really do. I think they'll get both those games against Seattle. But it's not, to me, it's not even about that. I'm focused on Eagles and Detroit in the division or in the conference. I just think the Eagles right now they're playing a different game than everybody else. They get to 3rd and 2, and
it's an automatic first down.
It's an automatic first down because they're in 4-down territory if they're not inside their 20-yard line, and they can get 2-3 yards basically anytime they want it.
The thing is I agree with you conceptually, but we've got to wait until we see the 49ers look different. Like, we're still saying that the 49ers are the team they were before these 3 games, or maybe even last year. I mean, you've brought up some very legitimate concerns on the defensive side of the football, and if they don't fix them, quite frankly, within the next 6 to 12 days, dude, they're up a creek.
Yeah.
So
this game's huge. It's Sunday.
We can't say they're right there with Detroit and Philadelphia until we see them look different than they have the last month.
They need to rebound. They need to rebound for sure. But to me, if I was sitting in a casino right now, I like Cincinnati. I like the way Philadelphia looks. I like the way Baltimore looks. I love the 49ers' talent if they can get it going. But I don't like the fact that Purdy's taken, concussions and they're not running the ball consistently. It seems like the 49ers offensive line is not getting push between the tackles.
Yeah.
And so it's like this last game. I mean, there were some people debating all throughout the week. What was more disappointing against the Bengals, the Niners offensively or the Niners defensively? And I've even heard people say, well, Steve Wilkes is being scapegoated for Kyle's issues on offense. But the Niners still have the number 1 offensive DVOA. They're 15th defensively.
Oh, they're way worse right now on defense than they are on offense. It's not even close to me. The only point you'll hear people make, which is a very contextualized, in my opinion, lazy thing to say, well, offense only scored 17 points last 3 weeks.
Right.
That's asking too much of the defense. That comes from somebody who went to Europe for 3 weeks, came back, looked at the box scores, and went, why are you only scoring 17 points? You're completely losing the context of the game flow, why people are in positions that they're in. There's no question in my mind. I'm not saying either side's been perfect, but if you want to talk about where the biggest problems lie, defensive side of the ball, no question.
Well, in this last game, there was almost no resistance.
Correct.
I thought the Bengals came out and they showed they could do three things. They could throw screen passes, they could throw short passes, or they could run Mixon. The Niners couldn't stop Mixon and couldn't stop the short passes. The Bengals didn't even really throw that many screen passes in this game. It was there for them if they wanted it. They didn't even need it. So, the 49ers have to circle the wagons and really fire a good effort on Sunday against the Jaguars. And if they lose that game, it really makes Tampa the next week like a must-win game.
Tampa, good Lord. The Bucs shouldn't even be on the field with the 49ers. Of course that's a must-win game.
Yeah.
No matter what happens, I don't care if they beat Jacksonville. You got to beat Tampa at Levi's. Are you kidding me? Baker Mayfield?
But, people acting like, they don't have to have this game against Jacksonville. Really? How many teams go to the Super Bowl and have lost 4 in a row?
Yeah.
You don't see that often. Has it ever happened? I don't know if it's ever happened.
I don't know. I wouldn't think. Matt in San Rafael next up here with Willard and Larry Krueger. Hey, Matt, what's up?
Hey, guys. 2 things before I get to my point. One is I can't believe I heard Larry talking Drew Sample up as an offensive weapon for Cincinnati. It's got to be a first. And
Thank you.
Second thing is my issue with Seattle above all else is their number one receiver has a head like a he's a child in a giant monster's body. And unless he gets his head together, Seattle is never going to put it together because they won't have a guy they can count on when they need him. Regarding the Niners, my concerns are exactly the same as the ones you guys have been talking about. Primarily, the middle of the defense has been soft, which has been shocking to me. I think losing DJ Jones and then Hassan Reddick has been really catastrophic because Hargrave is a pass rusher, and Javon Kinlaw, no matter what anybody says, he is not an NFL caliber player, in my opinion. What's happening that I see with regard to the defensive line is they all get so far upfield that there are running lanes and cutback lanes. They may be staying in their lanes, but if you're so far upfield, there are big gaps. Guys are going to find it. On the offensive side of the ball, the fact that they're not able to get anything going forward in the run game is because the center and the 2 guards are not engaging and driving the players that they're supposed to block backward, and you've got backs hitting a wall. The last thing about the defense is I'm very disappointed in Talanoa Hufanga this year.
Yeah.
He seems out of position and late a lot.
That's a great call.
Matt, thanks.
Hufanga is a box safety that a year ago looked like he could, he could read that mesh point and attack it with great timing, and he made plays in the backfield. But this year, he's never been known as a real great coverage player. But, man, he's really been strong against the run. This year, he's falling off blocks routinely. And so I hate to say it. This is a guy that I think people think of as, all pro. If he plays one or two more games the way he's playing it might be time to look at Jair Brown.
Well, I just keep looking at this 49er defense from the philosophy of the coaching staff. And they have always been a front-to-back staff rather than a back-to-front. And I go back to when the 49ers made the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. They essentially trotted the same secondary out onto the field, a group that had only had 2 interceptions the year before, and suddenly they performed like superstars. Why? Because Nick Bosa had arrived, and because their pass rush was devastating, and they stopped the run. That front 4, that group has got to perform, and when it does, all those guys in the back you're going to suddenly stop. You won't be frustrated with Hufanga anymore. You won't be as frustrated with Lenore. Hell, Larry, you might even have dinner with Isaiah Oliver. I don't know. Something crazy could happen. So I'm focused on those four, especially now that they added to it. This is the most highly priced, highly drafted group I've ever seen in my entire life, and they are not getting sacks, and they aren't stopping the run. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. They are so talented, and for whatever reason, they're stepping on one another's feet. And so that, to me, that's the thing that has got to change, and I think your secondary will follow suit.
They've been disappointing up front. I mean, Drake Jackson had 3 sacks that week 1 game against Pittsburgh. He's got very few pressures, and I don't think he's got a pressure since week 4. So, and then you heard Lynch tell Kawakami in their podcast that, Drake's got to earn his reps. So obviously they feel like they're challenging him by getting Chase Young. They got to set the edge. They miss Samson Ebukam. They don't set the edge in the run game. All of their tackles are kind of get up the field guys. They got to run the ball, stop the run. I mean, if they could run the ball and stop the run,
absolutely,
that would go a great distance to getting them back on the beam.
All right, I'm a couple minutes behind on this, so apologies, but it is time. Your chance to play a game of Knockout at Chase Center. Make sure that you are listening starting right now and through the next 15 minutes of this radio show. And when you hear this sounder, then we will ask you a question about something that was said in that 15-minute window. So don't just head off for a snack and then hope that you hear the sound. You got to listen right now for the next 15 minutes, or else you won't know what the hell to say when you call and Lucas picks up the phone and asks you a question. You'll be like, I don't know. You'll be like my students.
Do your assignments.
Yeah, what? Hey, Professor Willard, how do I get a better grade? Do your work. So we're asking you to do just a little bit of work, but it's fun because all you got to do is sit here and listen to Larry Krueger make great points about the wide 9. So over the next 15 minutes, you listen, then we're going to give you a question based on something that happens over the next 15, and we'll hit that sounder again. And when you hear that, be your opportunity to call in, find your way in to Chase Center to play Knockout. Don't call it now, but for reference, I'm going to give you that contest line right now. Write it down, 415-523-4652. Don't call now, don't call now, don't call now, and do your job. Okay? Does that all make sense to everybody?
Listen to Professor Willard.
I'm very excited right now, Grandy. Oh, never mind. Oh, okay, they hung up. Nope, there it goes. The contest line was not ringing. And I was like, that's the first time that's ever happened. And I decided that we've just got the smartest listeners in the history of ever, because we both played the sounder and read off the contest line, and it largely didn't ring. And so I'm proud of all of you.
They're focusing.
Because you can't win if you call now. So why would you call? Because the call is to win. It's the whole point. You play to win the game. Okay? All right. Should we go to Ben in Oakland?
Let's do it.
Let's go to Ben in Oakland. Hi, Ben. Thanks for calling Willard and Krueger. What's up?
Hey, guys. Just wanted to weigh in on the Chase Young acquisition. I feel like it's going to be a relocation sensation for him and for the Niners. And I feel like just Chris Kaceric's going to be able to mold this guy into the perfect bookend on the opposite side of Bosa. I feel the positivity coming from that move, and I think it's going to propel us into the second half of the season.
Ben, thank you. I'm sure curious to see what it looks like. I'm the type of guy, and this is why maybe I'm not a great bettor. I do okay with it.
Are you busting out into your LL Cool J?
Don't call it a comeback, or which one?
We said I'm the type of guy.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm the type of guy who uses gut feelings sometimes when it comes to betting or predicting. And that's, hit or miss.
Not analytics. You go with your gut, Boach.
What analytics do I have? Yeah.
Get a beer.
Go with your gut, man. I go with the gut, and I was driving in today, and I just, we haven't really, it's the bye week, and yesterday we had Warrior Hoops, and I just haven't really we haven't locked in on game week yet. And all of a sudden, I'm listening to the conversation, and I listen to Roast, and listen to Steiny and Goo, and this just feeling kind of comes over me. I'm like, oh, I think the Niners are going to look great on Sunday. Like, just the flow of the NFL suggests
they're due.
And so are the Jags in the other direction.
That's the one thing. The Niners are coming off the bye, but so is Jacksonville.
So is Jacksonville, and they're good. They're very good. They've won 5 in a row. There's no way to thumb your nose at that by any stretch. And, by the way, look at who they beat. It's not like they went through Cupcake City and had 5 games with Carolina. This is a team that beat Buffalo. This is a team that went into Pittsburgh and won by double digits. That's not easy. I know Pittsburgh lacks talent, but their home field advantage and Mike Tomlin are unbelievable. Jacksonville went in and beat them by double digits. They handled a road trip to New Orleans, not the easiest place to play. Their other 2 wins, Atlanta and Indianapolis, not overwhelmingly impressive, but they beat them by double digits.
They got a good D.
They're a good football team, but they might be due to come down to earth a little bit. And I just got the feeling that the 49ers, the flow of the NFL tells me there's no way this team is just going to fall off a cliff. It's not possible, right? You can't convince me or explain to me why this group of talent would just fall off of a cliff. And quite frankly, if they lose on Sunday, that's a little bit of what it feels like. It feels like they just fell off a cliff.
I mean, they got to stop Travis Etienne. If he has success, it's going to be a long day. Agreed. Trevor Lawrence, the ball's coming out of his hands super quick. So the 49ers, whatever their pass rush is, we were talking a lot about Chase Young, but they're going to have to, the coverage is going to have to be tight. And the thing about Jacksonville is they got a lot of speed. Evan Ingram's fast. Ridley, fast. Christian Kirk, fast. They've got some speed. Jamal Agnew's fast. So Niners are going to have to challenge these guys at the line of scrimmage, hug up in the coverage, whether they're playing zone or man. They're just going to have tighter coverage overall. And then the Niner offensive line is going to, have to step it up. I mean, this is a very underrated Jaguar defense. Josh Allen was a first-round draft choice. Devin Lloyd was a first-round draft choice. Trayvon Walker was the first pick in the entire draft. All these guys are on their defensive front. So Jacksonville's got a really good D. I think it's like a top 5 defense. They're going to have to, establish the run themselves, the 49ers, potentially get a lead, not turn the ball over in the red zone, play a clean football game. But I think there's reason to believe they'll be sharp coming out of the bye.